Welcome back. It's a new episode of The Calling, and today I am so happy to have DJ Hed joining the show.
How are you, brother?
Oh, man.
What?
Right. The king of timing.
Yeah.
Right? The day they announced Breonna Taylor, and there you go with Don't Shoot.
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Shout out to all of my white friends. I appreciate y'all.
All the white friends. You should look at the analytics. I think you know me better than
that.
Yeah. This ain't just a white people thing.
I know.
Anyway, so DJ Hed is a broadcaster. We work together at Real 92.3 in Los Angeles, and he does much more than that. But I wanted to talk today about this episode of The Calling, talking about broadcasting. That's how we know each other. And specifically, I'm a fan of Hed and what he does in broadcasting. So I thought, we would get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So you and I met at Real 92.3, right? With Big Boy's Neighborhood. And so when we met, you were already doing like HomeGrown Radio, right? With Chuck Dizzle, right?
Yeah.
And now you have your own show. You're doing another show in prime time at night in Los Angeles, which is fucking huge.
Crazy.
Right? Was there anything broadcasting wise before HomeGrown?
Yeah, I was doing radio at Cerritos College. You know, Mondo.
Yeah, right. At our competitor, we used to work together. Yeah.
So me and him went to school together.
Okay.
We were at Cerritos College in Norwalk, and I was right when I got out of high school. You know how they have the big orientation days at the college?
Sure.
And there's like hella people on campus and stuff like that.
Sign up for this club.
All that. Yeah. The grab, the handouts and all that.
Yes.
So I'm out in the quad and I heard the music coming from across the campus, and I went over to the speaker and I was like, what's this? It's like, oh, this is a radio station. Y'all got a radio station here? I want to do radio.
Mm-hmm.
So they was like, well, you got to talk to Mr. Bright. Shout out Professor Bright. And I found him in the quad at this little tent.
All right. And
I walked up to him and I just hit him in the back. And he'd spin around. He big, tall, he big ass guy.
You can cuss, it's all right.
And so, I curse.
This is a different kind of broadcasting.
I curse a lot. Excuse me.
You can cuss.
Sorry for the kids. But so I was like, yo, I'm dope. You should put me on your radio station. And he started laughing at me.
You walk up to the guy that you just meet. You say, I'm dope.
Yeah.
And you had no experience.
Zero.
Nothing. That's why I love you.
Zero experience. So I just was like, yo, I'm dope. Put me on your radio station. And he laughed at me. He was like, take my class and I'll think about it.
Uh-huh.
And so I signed up for radio broadcasting. That was like 2004-ish. And then, so ever since then, me and a couple other people were doing radio broadcasting at the college. I built a show there, and it got so big. I wasn't even a DJ at that point. I hadn't even started DJing. I just built a show that got so big.
DJing referring to mixing.
Mixing.
Yeah.
I wasn't on turntables.
Mm-hmm.
I was just radio personality.
Right.
And as I'm doing that, like, I got the show, because I'm a hustler, so I went out, and you gonna laugh at this. So this was during the hyphy era.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
Tell me when to go. Everybody's going dumb.
E40, yeah.
The Federation. So during this time, y'all were doing mornings, right? What's funny is I started going to Hollywood and finding like all the promoters that were doing all of the concerts and the clubs. So I talked them into giving me the same tickets y'all were giving away on your station at the time.
Amazing.
So I had like this week E40 and Too Short.
Yeah.
I was giving away the same tickets that Big was giving away.
Right.
But I had a 2-hour radio show at the college that had a 10 megawatt signal that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Just on campus. But that's how I kind of started growing my show, and I got my show to the point where managers started reaching out and wanting the artists to get on my show, and then that's how I kind of like built my name like that.
And so at Cerritos College, what was the name of the station there?
WPMD.
WPMD. Those are call letters. That's a big deal for broadcast people.
WPMD.
What call letters did you work
Where
at?
people make a difference.
Oh, stop it!
Hey man, shout out to Mr. Bright.
Congratulations to Hed for starting with the corniest shit ever.
So you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, we do have to start somewhere. Now let's get back to that for a second. So wait. So you're at like, college, open house day, orientation day, and you go up and you tell somebody you never met before, I'm dope. You should put me on the air. This is why I'm laughing. So like you and I have talked a ton. I've never heard that, yet. But it's funny to me too, because like that's something that like you and I have in common, because I was going to college and I started bugging Rick Dees's producer, and I had nothing. I hadn't done one broadcasting class. I had nothing. And I was bugging him, and he finally let me like come visit the studios, which are literally across the freeway from where we are today. And I knew. I didn't say hire me because I'm dope. I didn't say like you said, but I knew it.
Yeah.
I fucking knew it, right?
Well, you have more couth than I do.
Well, maybe not, but I'm just saying but it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah,
the fire was there, and I knew it, and in time I proved it, and that's amazing that you did that.
That was my first interaction with it.
I love it. So now let's go a step back from there. So how did you know that you were great to say that? Or was that just straight balls, or did you have any receipt yet as to what you're talking about?
You know what's funny is, like, you know how I am now, kind of like off the cuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't have, I had even less filter back then.
Right.
Like I wouldn't be able to exist. Who I was then, 10 years ago, 12, 13, 14 years ago, whatever, I wouldn't be able to exist today because of the stuff that I would be willing to say and do.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? During the Jackass era. Well, Johnny Knoxville, that whole shit.
Our show from back then, Big Boy's Neighborhood, we couldn't be on the air
tattooing people's forehead.
With what we were doing 15 years ago either. Times have so fucking changed.
Yeah. So I think that it wasn't necessarily balls. It just was who I am. Like, it was just like, I'm gonna just tell him who I am. Like, hey, this is me. I'm dope. You should put me on your radio station. It's gonna work. So,
Cerritos College, where people make a difference. Did I get that right?
You're not gonna let that go.
No, it's fucking great. And then, so then is the next step HomeGrown Radio as far as broadcasting?
So there's a time period. So from 2005 or 6-ish to about 2009 is the gray area. And that's because I met, like, doing my show at the college, I met rappers and managers and stuff like that. I ended up working with my big homie Glasses, G Malone, Glasses Malone. And they were like, yo, this kid he's a firecracker. Like, he's a star. We just don't know what he does.
Referring to you.
Right. And they were like, we're going to have you host all of our parties.
Yeah.
You're just the guy on the mic. I don't know. They just gave me a job. It was like, you're just the host.
Right.
So we started working, and I started working in the music side of things, doing promotions, doing marketing, doing producing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And at that point, he ended up getting a record deal with Sony. And it was the biggest record deal ever on the West Coast. So then I took a break from doing radio, and we went and did music business. Mm-hmm. And so I started learning the music industry from the inside out. And then we left there, and he did the deal with Cash Money. So now I'm on the road with This is during the Carter 3.
Okay.
This is the cover of Rolling Stone, Lil Wayne.
Yes.
Lollipop, #1 song in the world.
Yes.
I was around for all. I was at the Lollipop video shoot in Vegas.
Right.
So I'm like getting the full fade of the music industry, like off top.
Yeah.
So now I'm with the Maloof brothers at his house, and I'm like hanging out with these billionaires, and they don't know how to talk to girls, and we just little black dudes from the east side who's showing them how to talk to girls. And it's like, so now I'm like in a completely different world that I'm used to. So I was living.
Know how to talk to girls. We're going to take that part right there, put it on the shelf right here. We're going to come back to that.
So now what I'm saying is I was living a double life in that time period because I was broke. The brokest probably I ever been in my life. So I would go on the road. I would go stay in Birdman's penthouse in Miami on Biscayne Bay and be eating lobster and noodles, garlic noodles, and all kind of crazy shit, and then fly back home and be eating ramen noodles. So it was like,
right.
So I was literally living a double life.
It's a huge juxtaposition.
Right. So I'm trying to so at that time I wasn't doing the radio thing. So me and Chuck got together right in between that time period, like 2009, when I finally decided to be a real DJ. Yeah. And I didn't even decide to be a DJ. Glasses is the one, he kind of punked me into being a DJ. He was like, hey, cuz, you finna be my DJ.
You said he punked you into it?
Kind of. Really? He was like, hey, cuz, you finna be my DJ. And I'm like, I don't know how to DJ. He was like, well, you should learn. You smart. I'm like, all right, fuck it. So I learned how to DJ. Uh-huh. That's how I learned how to DJ. Yeah. I always wanted to learn, but it expedited the process because he needed a DJ because we were always on the road. So I would be standing, like I was the MC, right. So I would be standing next to the DJ, telling him when to drop out, when to turn the song off, when to switch anyway. Right. So, and I had always wanted to learn, but I just never had the time to sit down, and I never had equipment.
So for anybody like listening to this journey, right? So before you've even made it, let's just say, right? You've already cross-pollinated as MC, so learn how to be on a mic, learn how to be on the turntables, learn how to have the responsibility of a radio show, right? College, but still counts because it's still
I was running everything.
It's still a fucking responsibility. And you were on the artist side of it too, which is the opposite side of the broadcasting, because then it's like, you know, the music talent side. There's broadcasting talent side, then there's, you know, the artist talent side. And so before you and I even met, you've already done this fucking obstacle course of all of this different amazing
tour managing
experience.
I ran merchandise. I ran the merchandise. I was the DJ, the MC, and the tour manager, and I ran merch. I was the merchandise manager. So I was responsible for unloading all the merch into the venue. Right. Because we went on tour with Tech 9 and the first time with Slaughterhouse, and that was amazing. But like it was rigorous because I was doing everything. So I was running the merch counter, hopping on stage, MC DJ, hop off stage, run the merch counter, like and then doing load in and load out. At the time when the venues do load in and load out, count in, count out, I was doing the Excel spreadsheets for the merch, everything.
So, how does HomeGrown Radio with DJ Hed, Chuck Dizzle, how does that become two guys meeting to being on the air in Los Angeles?
Me and my boy Smarts, he passed away, so he introduced me and Chuck, and he was like, "You guys do the same thing." I was doing my thing at Cerritos College. Yeah. Chuck was doing his thing at Long Beach State at the same time. Mm. And he was like, "You two kind of are
was like." Was it college beef?
Nah, I didn't know him. I didn't care who Chuck D was. So I was doing my thing. I didn't care what he was doing. So he was like, "You guys should meet. I'm telling you, you guys got the same energy." I'm like, whatever. So we finally ended up linking up. Ironically, when we went to his show, and it was like all of us there as Top Dog and Ken, like early K-Dot, like all that stuff. So this is like 2008 or something like that. We go to the college and he's there, 2007, 8 or whatever. So we're all there, and then when Chuck ended up, long story short, a couple years later, when he ended up moving, obviously he graduated school, so he wasn't there. Okay. So he's at the house doing it now. So I was like, well, I was in and out of town because we were on tour a lot. So I would come back, and I was like, yeah, I'll come through. So one day I brought my turntables, and he was like, all right, so like I just kind of rock the mic. If you could just handle all the music, it'll work. Like, let's do a mix show. I'm like, all right, for sure, let's do it. So we ended up just going live and doing the mix show, and then ever since then we've been stuck. So
wait. So the first incarnation of that show was Chuck as the lead mic and you on the turntables.
Yes.
Not slated as like talking.
No. No. He wanted me to talk, interact.
I'm laughing for any of you. Okay, because of course I'm a programmer by trade, and I coach talent for a living and have done it for a while. He is so dominant, like I can't. And again, it's not a knock on Chuck. I love Chuck and I work with Chuck too. But you're so dominant, like that blows my mind that you know that was like the first incarnation.
That was
of you being the side, or not even side. I mean, if you're the mixer, you're not expected to create a lot of content there.
Nah. Yeah. But it ended up being where I would have a mic, and then our interaction got crazy. Our chemistry happened immediately. Mm-hmm. So we just kept doing that out of his apartment, and the show kind of gained momentum. Now this is gonna get weird, but what happened was we decided to become the anti-establishment because the station, we felt like at the time, wasn't catering to what the music that was coming up in the city that we wanted to play. TDE and...
The station.
Yeah.
Meaning the hip-hop mass broadcast station in Los Angeles.
Yes, at that time.
Which was at that time when there was only one of them.
Correct.
So it's not...
That was during the LMFAO play.
This is before iHeart.
Correct.
This is when there was only one hip-hop station in Los Angeles.
One hip-hop station.
That we worked at.
Correct.
Yes.
So that was during the
So you were rooting against us during that time?
100%.
Oh, you asshole.
100%. But I knew it was... I know... See, and that's the thing. This is what I always preach to the youth now. Get educated. Because I remember Big asking one time, he's like, why you never came and applied to work at Power? Like, you would have fit right. Like, we would have loved to have you. I said, because I know what it is.
Yeah.
I didn't want no... I know that I don't fit in certain places. And I'm okay with that. So, therefore, I don't even put myself in them situations.
So, I completely agree with both statements. One, with Big's statement of that we would have loved to have had you. Completely agree. And I completely agree with your statement of I didn't go there because you would have hated it. We would have loved to. So we've had this conversation with several people because, again, Big and I have been producing partners for 20 plus years. And, we've met a lot of people over time. And we talk about every fucking one of them since the day he and I met, right? We still talk about them. But there have been a handful of people where we've tried to figure something out with them, either with our show or with some, extra product that we can help, nudge or guide or something like that. And sometimes people go with it, sometimes people don't. But there have been a couple of occasions where people who I still know to this day, and I'm not going to embarrass them right now, but they didn't come. And ultimately, it was the right decision because politically and with their own, how they conduct themselves or whatever. So sometimes it isn't exactly the right fit because this broadcasting is it seems like should be easy and it's just the greatest talent should be doing X, Y, and Z, but it's so political.
Yeah.
And,
it is what it is. And I never was mad about that. I know I'm not the demographic. I know that this is what it is. So I've never been upset about that at all.
Yeah.
Which is why we just built our own.
Right.
So that's what I always preach to everybody. It's like, stop throwing the rocks at tanks. That's not effective. What you do is you...
Say that again.
What?
Stop
throwing rocks at tanks. I get the symbolism, but do you want the symbolism or do you want the agenda? So for me, it's about the agenda. So instead of throwing a rock at the tank, I'm going to figure out how to get inside the tank, drop a hand grenade in that bitch. You know what I'm saying? That's me. I don't know how to whine and complain about circumstances. That's not how I was raised. Mm-hmm. So long story short, we ended up just building our own, and we literally created the anti-mainstream. Right. I guess HomeGrown Radio became the leader, the home for underground everything. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. Kind of like
your media at that point was
online. We were on YouTube and we were on this thing called Tiny Chat.
Okay.
And we were on. It was before. This is during MySpace. Uh-huh. So there was no Instagram Live. There was none of this shit.
And how did that show make it to major broadcasts in Los Angeles? What was that? What was that bridge?
Well, have I ever told you the Fuzzy story? I don't know if I ever told you the story, but
good old Fuzzy.
Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna try to make it short as possible. But basically, long story short, me and Fuzz had a relationship. He had seen me. He sees me I'm in the streets. I'm not one of them inaccessible people. So I'm in the streets. So he know me from being in the streets. So I was crazy because I told Big the story. I never told you my side, my POV of what happened. Right.
Yeah.
So I get an email from one of my guys in New York. He's like, "Hey, you should check this out." It's a link. I clicked the all access link. It says rumors of new station in LA. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what the hell is this? So then I click it. I started doing some digging. I started looking on Instagram, Twitter. I don't see nothing. And I started kind of like looking up the different letters and stuff. So I started piecing stuff together. The next week, Big posts a picture of him taking Jaden and Chula to school. Like, this first time I'm taking my kids to school and however so much long. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why he not on the air? So I go listen to the radio. I'm like, Big not on the air. I said, oh, something going down.
So for those that don't know,
this is in 2015 March.
Fuck yeah, it was
February 2015.
So Big and I were creating and producing Big Boy's Neighborhood at Power 106 in Los Angeles for many years. And then our contract expired, and then we got sued, and we basically got locked out. So that's when, everybody across the world is used to, Big Boy being online and on the air at this one location for all these years. So to see him saying, "Oh, I'm not on the air this morning, I'm taking my kids to school," it had to be a fucking shock.
Blew my mind.
Right.
So I'm like, oh shit, something's going down. I call Fuzz like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, Fuzz, he's asleep. What's up, man? I'm like, hey, wake up. He's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, everything okay? I said, Fuzz, listen to me. Whatever's going down, I want in. He was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Fuzz, fuck that. I know something is happening.
I know that you know.
Something is happening, and it's not. I said, it is impossible for y'all to put another hip hop station in this city, and I'm not on it. That don't even make sense to me. Like, right? So he's like, oh, you talking about some radio shit? I'm like, yes. I need you to wake up. Because he's half asleep. I'm like, he's like, bro, I got you. I'm like, Fuzz, wake up. He's like, no, I got you. I'm like, all right, for sure. I'm going to be on your ass, though. So I got off the phone, let him go back to sleep. Week go by, I hear the 10,000 joints on the air, Real 92.3.
Yeah.
Then
they flipped an entire radio station.
I hear 10,000 joints running. Then the next week go by, I hear Nina on. Next week go by, I'm like, oh shit, like what the fuck? I'm like, so now I'm on Fuzz, like, yo, they putting motherfuckers on the air. What are you doing? Like, what's going? And he was like, yo, it's complicated. Woo, like we figured it out. Like I got you, don't worry about it.
Right.
What you mean, don't worry about it? This is what I've been waiting for 14 years.
Sure.
I went to school for radio 2004. This is 2015.
Yes.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean? Wait, hold on. Like, 10 years, it's just 11 years now. So, anyway, he ends up calling me later on, and he's like, yo, come meet. I end up walking in, met Doc and the whole team. He hired me on the spot. Then an opportunity came up later on to work with y'all, running boards, doing phones, and whatever, right? Miscellaneous, what have you.
So wait. Let's not gloss over that. So he hired you on the spot to do
mixture just on the weekend.
Yeah.
They hired me for 2 hours a week.
Right. But that was, again, this was, so you made the shift of outside the tank to inside the tank, even though it was small.
Correct.
To start.
Correct.
Okay, and then
after I was working here for a while, actually, I don't know if I told you my side of this story before either, but I don't think I've shared this with you before. Me and Big, I've told Big about this twice.
Yeah.
But, so, one day, because I used to just hang out. I don't know if you probably know this because you know this shit. But I used to just be in here looking through the window.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's fucking Big Boy in there. What the fuck you... Like...
But that's it. You can't make something happen if you're not in position.
So I would just be hanging out, and then one day Big saw me hanging out, and he called me in the DJ booth, and we're sitting there, and he's like, yo, tell me about yourself. I'm like, what do you want to know? He's like, tell me everything. I'm like, all right. So I started at Cerritos College, all the way up to present day, but it was an hour conversation.
Sure.
And he was just smiling, and Big was like, man, that's crazy. I'm like, what? He said, Fuzz told me about you, but I just didn't listen to him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what you mean? He's like, Fuzz told me you were the guy, but I didn't listen to him. But I'm going to correct that right now. So that's when he called you in the room and Fuzz in the room. So y'all in the DJ booth with us. And I do you remember this day? We were sitting.
I don't.
Okay, all right, for sure. So me and him are sitting down in there.
Because remember, again, as we're talking about all the POVs, whatever I got pulled from...
that was more important than...
Well, not that it was more important, but I didn't know what
was going on?
Was coming,
gotcha.
Right? So it didn't necessarily have the impact.
It imprinted in my brain.
Right.
So you and Fuzz are in there, and he says, hey, I want DJ Hed involved in everything I'm doing moving forward. And you were like, okay. Like, right. All right, cool.
Right.
We'll figure it out. Like,
right.
And then Fuzz was like, all right, for sure. And then that was it. And then, so, fast forward.
Well, that's one of the number one rules of also being an EP and a business partner is that when your business partner is excited about something, and I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, I'm there and I'm fucking supportive of my guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then I'll get to the details later. Because then it's my job to actually make it true.
Make it happen, right. Yeah. Hey, I want a car. Just figure that out. Go build me a car. But so after that, that's when I got presented with the opportunity to help you guys out in the morning.
Yes.
Doing some behind the scenes stuff. And then that's how that kind of is the formulation of our relationship. But then later on, I was doing some other shit for Doc, and I was telling him about Chuck. And then he was like, yo, I've been hearing this name, like, give me his air check, gave him air check. He liked it. They hired Chuck. So then at that point, I started explaining to them what we were doing outside of here.
Right.
And what we've been doing. So I started showing them the interviews. We had like the first K-Dot interview ever and the first Schoolboy Q interview and like all these different things. And I was showing him our resume. Like, this is what we do. Yeah. We do LA shit. And that was absolutely one of the challenges when Real 92.3 was launched in Los Angeles, is that it wasn't easy getting really solid Los Angeles talent. Mm. It wasn't easy. Yeah. So then now this is sort of like this treasure trove of what, DJ Hed and Chuck Dizzle have been doing. And so then that's when they decided to let us do our thing on the air. Right. And so they gave us the opportunity, and we did exactly the same thing, but we had no formal radio training. So I didn't know like about time spent listening and all this other kind of shit. Right. So I didn't know, like, hey, play a song. Like, you can talk, but don't talk for 10 minutes. Right. Yeah. Take a breath. Yeah. Give them doses. We were talking for 8-9 minutes at a time. Tell them why to come back. So some radio, radio basics that I didn't know. I'm off the street. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So anyway, that's how HomeGrown ended up here at the radio station. So just like a parallel journey of that time too. So I don't pinpoint the exact time when I first met you of point of contact, but here's what I do know very precisely, and why we're sitting here today, is that when you started working with our show, and you had, you were helping, sure, with phones and with some stuff like that, right? But I would look at you, and please don't take this analogy wrong, but I literally felt like I was watching, the tiger that was in a cage like the size of this office. Like, you were in the wrong place. Yeah. And not that I didn't like working with you, but like, that was not your talent. Mm-hmm. And I'm so happy that we got to interact, because I learned about you. I saw that there was something else there. There was just such a strong, opinionated sense of self and of the music and of what could be done, right? Mm-hmm. And I knew then that I absolutely knew you were in the wrong place. Not meaning the radio station, but I'm like, okay, like, he's not going to last in this incarnation, but like, I hope that we can figure something out. And even because at that point too, like, just for fun, you were doing Instagram content and things like that was so funny and so edgy. Yeah. That I took notice of that, because again, I'm a producer. I'm trained to see that type. I'm a content fan. Yeah. When I see something and it takes a lot to show me something I haven't seen, or to get me to like really laugh, like a real fucking laugh, but you have that. And so I was always like really admiring that. And due to, like my show and there's a lot, again, politics, and without getting into all of it, like, there wasn't a lot I could do in that moment. Mm-hmm. Right. And so you and I stayed like, friendly and would talk all the time, but I didn't have the ability to do something. To do nothing. Really, really with you. But I knew though
that you had something really exceptional. And the thing that I really, liked about it too is that, like, you have a sense of, like, I am still me. So if this doesn't work out, I don't give a fuck. Like there was always that sense of it. Of like, I love this, but if y'all do something with this, that's fine because I'm still me and I'm good. Right? Now, how does that happen?
Because how I grew up,
Mm.
I don't get attached to too many things, which is perfect for professional life. It's hell from personal life, dealing with women and shit. Because I don't really get attached to things like that. Like if you take it away from me, I'll just build another one. That's how I look at it. Like I got all day.
That's not a terrible thing for dating, unless you were saying that you wanted to be married right now and you don't have.
I don't care.
So then then why is that a terrible thing?
Just because you got to deal with the argument anyway.
You don't have to.
Well, you don't have to, but I don't. But that's what brings the energy. Anyway, I'm saying that to say,
there are a lot of ladies out there that are fine with non-attachment.
West Coast,
right there.
Timing. But no, I'm just thinking, like...
Did you know that, though?
Yes.
And the same way I'm describing my experience of you.
Yes.
Yeah, you knew that, too.
I know, yeah.
You knew you had much bigger things coming, and it just wasn't the time yet.
Yeah. I'm okay with... See, but the thing... This is how I look at life, though. This is something that a mentor taught me, is time is man-made. So, because time is man-made, we put these constraints on ourselves. And unless it's biological, like women can't have children after a certain age at 40-something, or you can't procreate before the age or whatever, or you're going to die before you get to probably 90 years old. Anything outside of that, time doesn't matter. Mm. We create these time boundaries in our mind. So if it's going to take me 3 years, fuck it, it'll take me 3 years. I waited 10. If it takes, so... Right. So, and the other part about what you said is true because of how I grew up. I don't have a lot of emotional impact when it comes to the things that I want. Like, I'm a goal-driven motherfucker. Like, I'm gonna go after what I set my mind to. Right. But if it don't work out, I'm accepting of what the universe gives me or take it away. Mm-hmm. I just accept it and go to the next thing.
Smart. That's smart. People spend years and years of therapy to learn that one.
For real?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of people are chronically can't let go of shit.
You know what?
Still holding on to some puppy dog romance when they were 16, holding on to that one job, holding on to that whatever the fuck.
I go into, we call it survivor mode. My manager Silas told me I go to work every day with my parachute on. He said, "You go to work every day with your parachute on, don't you?" I'm like, "I guess."
But see, right? But again, this is one of the reasons why I'm very attracted to your personas because, like Big and I talk about this a lot, and it's like I can't teach somebody to be motivated. I can't teach somebody to have the hustle and have the drive. I can teach somebody the ins and outs of this morning show. I can teach somebody the ins and outs of this hip hop radio station and this, genre, right? And how to win, But if you don't have those mechanisms already, right? Like, there's not a lot I can do. So that's like, something that is absolutely already, puts you ahead of the pack.
I call it it's intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
And it just comes from how I grew up. My mom didn't do a lot of coddling. Like, I probably seen my mom cry maybe twice in my life or something like that. Yeah. But it was just like, we would go into immediate problem solving mode.
Right.
So she would come in and be like, "Hey, the electricity is about to get cut off in the apartment or in the house. Take all the food out of the refrigerator, put it in the freezer so to stay good for the whole week until I get paid to get the lights back on. Right. Here goes some batteries for the lights. Here goes some candles." And she just go in her room.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, "Oh, we gotta, babe." Like, it wasn't none of that. It was just like, "Hey, we need to fix this problem. Like, we got a flat tire. All right, get the jack out of the trunk. I'm gonna show you how to change." Like, it was just that. It wasn't like a lot of like. So that's probably where I get my skin from. Mm-hmm. It's kind of just like, all right, well, I'm fired. All right, well, thank you for the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Right. I don't know what else you're supposed to do other than solve the problem.
So today, in broadcasting, you are now on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Top rated night show, Real 92.3 Los Angeles. It's DJ Hed, it's Bootleg Kev, right? And like people debate, right, between like the New York market and the LA market. Technically speaking, the LA market, has is more valuable technically because people listen longer here.
Mm-hmm.
New York technically has more bodies, but like by any measure of a broadcaster, you have made it. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't look at it like that.
That's okay. You don't have to.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
And
I receive the blessings, though. I receive it.
Good. Now let's suspend disbelief for a moment because you don't look at it that way. So I need you to look at it that way.
Okay.
For a moment. Okay. Tell me something that's happened in this broadcasting arc of yours, right? That has absolutely made you say, wow, I fucking did something here.
Ooh. The impact with the people, different people who I see a lot of, like I have my DMs are flooded with kids that are, I say kids because I'm old, but like kids that are like.
Yeah, you're old, right?
I say kids because they're like 19, 18,
right.
19.
Right.
And they're like, yo, man, I just, I saw what you said and on your podcast on the air. Like, I just got my first stock. Like, I'm trying to do it. Like, I didn't buy it, or I just quit drinking, or
right.
I just got off lean, or, I just posted something today where this girl bought a book that I recommended on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shit like that is like, damn, that's dope to me.
Right.
Because I always wanted to utilize the platform. And I'm going to say this, but it's not you guys, because you guys haven't been a part of this. But
meaning not my show?
Yes.
Okay.
But they are, the people that come before me, I have a real big chip on my shoulder because didn't learn anything from them. Like, I can't say that this, I was talking to shout out to Jeff G. I was talking to Jeff Garcia one time.
Right.
And I said, what's crazy about you, Jeff? I said, you, Jason, I can name 5 people off the top of my head without even thinking about that you've put on.
Wait, what do you mean?
People that you've put on, like people that you have helped craft their career.
Oh.
And gave you basically were instrumental in giving this person a shot at a career.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have put people on. Right. Big has put people on.
Right.
Fuzz has put people on. Jeff has put people on.
Yeah.
I can't say that for nobody else.
Yeah.
That came before me.
Right.
I have a big chip on my shoulder about that. I have a big chip on my shoulder because not only did you not put anybody in position or on, but you haven't contributed to the culture in any way outside of something that's going to benefit you.
Right.
Not only that, I haven't learned shit from you. So
I tell you,
I know, but and that's why I don't be talking a lot because it get fucked up. But I'm just saying, like,
I tell you, I'll tell you something funny about that statement about putting people on. I am a producer and I am an analyst almost to a fault, in the sense that there have been 2 times in my career, 2 very distinct times in my career, where there was a person, again, no names, but there are 2 different people within 2 decades that personally I did not get along, I did not respect, but their work far surpassed whatever issue they had with me or vice versa. And when I was asked by 2 levels above me, what do you think about this person? I said, absolutely hire them. Now do it with these caveats,
right? So
you don't get burned in the ass when they do this, that, and the third,
right? Because
they're a little weasel or whatever, right?
Right.
But the same way, like for me, like it's not personal. Like it's always the work.
That's it.
And I don't have to love the person to get the best out of them. And so yeah, I always like paying it forward and broadening what we're doing because I mean it's the right thing to do, but B, it's how it continues to grow is, by being that, lighthouse to like welcome people in and show them what, and now granted, they've got to be fucking good.
Yeah.
It's not an open house for everybody to just come in and fucking kick it.
No, I get it.
But, yeah.
But that's where I'm coming from, though, as far as when I say that. I'm not saying like I'm bitter. I'm saying that like, I'm trying to right your wrongs. So what I'm saying is I'm giving out free game because I remember coming up where consultations was a thing. It's like, no, I'm going to give you some free information because in every other community outside of my culture, they sharing information. Mm-hmm. My Jewish homies are learning about economics at 12 years old. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? My Latin friends are opening their own landscaping businesses and doing all kind of, they have their entrepreneurs. They got their own elote
right.
business. They got their own, like they're doing shit.
Yep.
And then in my community, it's like, well, you got to pay me for a consultation. It's like, just to get some game?
Right.
Like, what the fuck is that about? Right. So I'm just saying that's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a lineage of where my culture has cannibalized itself. And so now when I see, to go back to the wow moment, when I see what I'm trying to put out there is being received and people appreciate it, it's like, wow, that's fucking dope.
Right.
Because it's like, finally, I'm getting to the nuts and bolts of why I'm here.
Right.
The purpose.
Yep. Fuck yeah. We're running out of time. But I got one more question for you. Well, I have a lot more questions for you, but I got one more question for today. So, if you have, so again, consider your present day experience. Okay, you're working on a major station at night, right? You've got a little bit of stature. If you could make one change as to how something works in broadcasting, like,
yeah, it would be the rating system.
Yeah.
I think the rating system is asinine.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. I remember going to, this is a long time ago, obviously before I was here, but I remember going to my friend's house and she had a Nielsen box on her TV and she was just like, flipping through shit. She's just flipping through shit. And I'm just like, and I knew what it was because obviously I had to have some background in learning radio.
Right.
And I'm looking at the box and she's just flipping through shit. And it's like, she go to a show, like, and I'm like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that literally can get someone's show canceled.
Exactly.
And it was just like...
And that's how they used to measure television, is by a physical box being on the television. For radio broadcasting, it's even less. I mean, it's a convoluted system.
It's a whole thing.
How they get ratings.
And so it's
people's careers live and die by it.
And it's just an asinine system. And I know it's better than the diary system.
But that's not saying much.
But it's exactly. But it's just like, what the fuck are we doing? I've seen the back end of DSPs, whether it be the Spotify's or whatever, and you can see in real time where the person is who's streaming your shit.
Yes.
Literally like, hey, this person, Justin.
This episode right now, we'll be able to watch and tell exactly when people tuned in, tuned out, right? And they don't have that for radio, which has been around for 100 years.
That's my problem.
Fucking stupid.
That's my problem. This shit's crazy. So it is what it is. It's what we have to work with. And I always say, I play the hand that I have in my hand. I play the cards I have in my hand. I don't worry about what you got in your hand, and I don't worry about the deck. I worry about what I got right here. That's how I live my life. And that has gotten you to this part today, and it is going got me on this couch. Fuck yeah, and it's going to continue. On the couch. So much more to talk about, but we're gonna pause it right there today. Brother, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate this. Appreciate being here on the couch. Always. You know what I'm saying? Always love our conversations, and such a fan of your job. Jason puts up with me. You know what I'm saying? I put up with you, and I'm learning from you. Anyway, it's another episode of The Calling. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye. West Coast.